Okay, grade 10s, here we go. We are in block B, which is PD10. We are on page 136 in our book. It's block D, which is Form 10. We're on page 121. So I will wait a moment for you to flip to your appropriate pages, and then we'll get started. Okay. So let's open with putting a line on this graph. So you can see that that red line hits the y-axis, hits it right there, hits the x-axis right there. And you can see it's only going to do that once, because you know this line is going to go forever that way and forever that way. This spot is called the y-intercept. This spot is called the x-intercept. So there you've seen a picture of it. Let's put it into words. An x-intercept occurs when a graphed line crosses the x-axis. And obviously a y-intercept occurs when a graphed line crosses the y-axis. It's pretty easy to visualize, right? So let's put it in a little bit bigger place here. Now, I'm going to draw that line again and draw it differently. Pretend that's perfectly straight. So right there is a y-intercept. Now, that point right there, do you know this value? You don't. You just know it's somewhere on the y-axis. Do you know that point's x value? Well, sure, because it hasn't moved side to side. So the y-intercept's value is 0, y. 0 because it's got no x value. So obviously, this, do you know this distance? No. Do you know its vertical distance? Yes, it's 0. So this x-intercept must be x, 0. Now, let's think about that for a sec. Can that always be true? Well, let's draw another line on here. We'll draw a gray one. Put that gray one right there. There is my x-intercept. Well, it's got a negative x value, but it's still 0 on the y's. There's my y-intercept. Well, it's got a 0 x value because it didn't move side to side, but it's got a negative y value. So that tells us that every x-intercept is x, 0. It's got an x value, but it has no y value. And conversely, every y-intercept is 0. It's got no x value, but it's got a y value. And that is the basis of everything we're going to do for the next few minutes. So here I have a function. Now, this is the way we started writing them last day. This is really y equals 2x plus 3. And I told you I want the x and y intercepts, and I want a graph. Well, it's not too hard. An x-intercept, which I've been writing in green, an x-intercept is always x comma 0. And a y-intercept is always 0 comma y. Now, you're smart kids. Whenever you see this written this way, that's the x, that's the y. That's the x, that's the y. What do you see right here? That's the x, that's the y. So all we do is we take these values and we substitute them in there. So y is 0. 2. X is still an x plus 3. Then I solve. Bring that over here. Negative 3 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. Negative 3 over 2 equals x. What do you see right there? The letter x. X is negative 3 over 2. So this is negative 3 over 2, 0. Now let's do the same thing with the y value. Y is y. Y equals 2. Oh, sorry, I should be doing this in blue. Y equals 2. X is 0 plus 3. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, so y equals 3. Y equals 3. There's a y. 0, 3. Now, I just want you to graph it. So, negative 3 over 2 is 1.5. So if I go over to 1 and 2, half is in the middle. Well, that's a bit of a pain. But we could put the dot right there. There's negative 1.5. And 1, 2, 3. There is my y value. And then what do? I connect them with a straight line. That's option 1. Option 2, watch what I can do here to make it easier on myself. I'm going to say that 2 squares equals 1. So 1 square is a half. I need 3 halves. 1, 2, 3. I can put my x-intercept there because I've told you that each square is worth a half. So if this is 3, 1, 2, 3. I can put my y-intercept way up there and draw it that way. They're both the same. I don't care what you do. But if there's room and it's a fraction, I like to change the scale to make it pretty. We don't care about this. That's not important to you this year. So let's move along to here, and we're not going to do that. So this is the exact same thing, but this time I'm going to use the function notation. G of x equals 1/2 x minus 2. Now I remember that I just want to keep the colors the same. My x-intercepts are green. My x-intercept is always x comma 0. My y-intercept is always 0 comma y. So this, we remember, is our x value, and this is our g of x value. That's our x value, and that's our g of x value. So for this first one, x is staying x, but g of x is 0. Well, there's g of x, right? So 0 equals 1/2 x minus 2. Bring the 2 over. 2 equals 1/2 x. Multiply this side by 2 to get rid of the 2. Multiply this side by 2. 4 equals x. There's an x. X equals 4. So 4, 0. Now I'll do this one. My g of x equals y. G of x, y. And my x equals 0. 1/2 of 0 minus 2. Half of 0 is 0, so y equals -2. There's a y, 0, -2. And then I just put it on the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, and -2, 0, and then I connect the line. That's how easy intercepts are. Now, let's move along. Slope-intercept form now. Slope, as you can see in this line right here, it has a slope. If I were to draw myself skiing, I'm going to do snowboarding because there's only one plank. You could see that I could, quite plainly, big jump, 360, land it. I could ski or ride down that slope. So the slope is whenever we can make this situation, right? If I go up and right, or if I go down and left, I can make a slope on a line. So you will notice that, this right here looks a lot like this, y, some number x and a number, y, some number x and a number, and y, some number x and a number. So let's have a look at this situation. Let's look at this one right here. Now, this y and x, you already know what y and x are. These are points on the graph. Right? Now, let's look at the other two. I got an M and I got a B. Let's look at that B first. What do you see right there? 3. What do you see right there? 3. What do you see right there? -2. What do you see right there? -2. So what does that tell us about this B value? This B value is automatically the y-intercept. So the only letter left is M. M equals the slope. Now slope, we remember, can only happen if our point, if we go up and to the right, so we change our y and our x value, or if we go down and to the left, we change our y and we change our x value. Then, and only then, have we made a line. So let's have a look here. 2. Well, if I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then I go over here 1, 2, 3, I went up 6 and to the right 3. What if I start here? Well, then I go down 6 and to the left 3. Well, 6 and 3, 6 and 3, 2. What the heck? Let's look at this one. I go up 2 and over 4. 2 and 4, 1/2. 2 over 4, 1/2. So this m is my slope. And we always find the slope by taking our rise. What direction is rise? Up and down, and dividing it by our run. Run is what we call when we go sideways. In physics class next year, you'll learn this as the change in y. That's a triangle. It's a Greek letter, delta. It means change, divided by change in x. So let's have a look at this situation here. Here are 4 kinds of lines. Let's look at the first one. Right now it's just a line. It's not a graph, right? Because you don't have a coordinate. Let's put the coordinates in there. So now it's a graphed line, right? So let's start here at point A, and here is point B. We remember that slope is rise over run. So if I want to get from A to B, but I'm not allowed to go diagonally, I have to go like a triangle. So I would go up. That's my rise. If I'm going from down here to up here on a graph, that's positive. Then if I go this way, that's also positive. So my rise, I have a positive rise divided by a positive run. So that means that number is going to be positive. Okay, Myers, whatever you say, but what if I want to go from B to A? Then it's going to be negative, but it isn't. Because if I go down here, I have a negative rise because I went downwards, and a negative run because I went to the left. Negative divided by a negative, negative divided by a negative is still a positive number. Everybody cool? So now, what does that mean is going to happen over here? Well, let's make it our line again. We'll have line A, line B. Now, if I want to get from B to A, I go up. That's positive. But then I go that way, which is negative. So I have a positive rise divided by a negative run. The signs are different. It's going to be negative. Okay, Myers, what if I go the other way? Same thing. That would be a negative rise divided by a positive run, which would still get me a negative number. I can just pause. I have to vacate the living room, ladies and gentlemen. My wife needs to do her class for her kids. So I'm going to pause this, and I'll carry on in a second or two. Hey everyone, I'm back. Okay, so we covered the 2 lines that lean to the sides. But let's have a look at this one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move my coordinate grid over here. There's point A, there's point B. If I want to get from there to there, you will notice that I only have a rise. So I have a positive rise, but I have 0 for a run. How can I divide by 0? I can't. This is what we call an undefined slope, because it's infinite. And that makes sense, right? Because remember, if I tried to ski it, I'm going to erase all this. Here I am. Let's go! Ah! That's not skiing, that's falling. I left my snowboard at the top. So this is undefined. So let's put all these in perspective. This one is a positive slope, because positive, positive, or negative, negative. This one is a negative slope. This one is undefined because it's infinite. This one, again, you're smart kids. Could I ski that? No. This one is a zero slope because from A to B, I have zero rise, but I have a run. 0 divided by anything is 0. So slope is m in this form, but it's also rise divided by run. It's also the change in y divided by the change in x. Okay? So let's use this. Turn the page over. So here I have 4 functions. I'm going to use 4 different colors. A, B, C, and D. So let's look at A right here. Now, does that look like that? Is it y, because f of x is y, some number, x, and another number? Yes. We look at that and we know that this is our slope and this is our y-intercept. So in here, this gives me my starting point. -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is my dot. Because I know my line has to go through -4 because that's the y-intercept. The m is the slope. Now, how do we really write 2? 2 is really 2 over 1, isn't it? And that makes a fraction, doesn't it? And isn't slope rise over run? So here I need to rise 2, positive 2. So that means I would go up 1, 2. And I need to run positive 1, which is right 1. Okay, what if I go the other way? Down 2, which is -2, and left 1, which is -1. 2 negatives still make a positive. There's my line. Oh, that's a crap line. There's my line. And how long will that continue? Forever. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Down to left 1, down, and so on, and so on, and so on. For all of eternity. Cool? All right, let's do B. What's our y-intercept in B? Well, you can see it's +1. Okay, well, there's +1. My slope, there's no number with x. What's the number that we don't write? It's 1, so it's -1. And how do we really write -1? It should be -1 over 1, shouldn't it? So I rise -1 and I run +1, or up 1, left 1. And that'll go on forever. So it'll give me that line. Everybody cool? Now, I don't want to put the other 2 on here because it gets a little messy. So I'm going to no, I will leave them on there. Green line, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. My slope is -1/3. So down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. There's the green one. And the gray one, y equals x. No y-intercept. So that's 0. Slope of +1. It's going to go up here. Now you can see this has made a horrible mess of our graph. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the colors. F is the red line, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase everything but my red line. I want the f of 2. Well, is that an x value or a y value? F of 2, f of x. That is an x value. So I go right to here and I see 1, 2. Oh, there it is. What's my y value there? 0. Now, I want the h of 3. H was my green line. So I'm going to erase the red line. I'll put the green line back on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. Oh, line Myers. H of 3. 1, 2, 3. There's my 3. Then I go up. Oh, and I find that it is 4. I want g of x, so that is my blue line, which was +1 with a slope of -1, so it went this way. And this is tricky, because now I know the y value is +4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got to look for it up here. So I got to bring my line along. 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is, right there. -3. And f of x when it's -1. So that's my red line again. Bring my red line back. Right there. -1. So I go down to -1 and I go out to here. And what would you say that is? That's about 1.5. And we're good. So that is the work you need to do page 139 if you're in block B, and it is page 121, 122, 123. It is page 124 if you're in D block. And this page, which is page 125 if you're in D block. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, the answers are right there, same as before. I'm going to do a meeting tomorrow, because tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going to do my 2 hangouts. If you need help with this, come to them. But Friday you get the day off, because Friday is Good Friday. And Monday you get the day off. Don't do math. Go for a walk by yourselves, doing physical distancing or whatever you need to do. But there is no new work until next Wednesday. There'll be a hangout on Thursday and a hangout on Tuesday, but Friday and Monday are off. Okay? If you have any problems with these two pages, come to the hangouts on Thursday and Tuesday. Okay? Okay, stay strong, stay safe, stay together. Bye.